There's so many ships in the Harry Potter series, from Harry and Ginny, Lily and James, Ron and Lavender, Fred and Angelina, and of course, Ron and Hermione. Before Hermione and Ron got together though, there was one other man that had Hermione's heart, and that was Viktor Krum. Me personally, I'm a big fan of Ron and Hermione, which is why I was genuinely shocked when I came across this article from the official HarryPotter.com site, where they posted an article that said why Viktor Krum was a better boyfriend than Ron Weasley, talking about his relationship with Hermione against Ron's relationship with her. I decided that before I read this, I had to turn the camera on because I cannot believe this title, and I thought it would make for a fun video idea as I read through this for the first time and share it with you guys and just give my thoughts. If you enjoy this video, please consider liking and sharing. It will greatly help to grow and sustain the channel. And if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button, and you can also follow me on all of my other social media pages, all of which are linked down below and all of which house similar content that I make here on this channel. Now that I've said that, let's look at this article. So this was actually published on September 21st, 2017. So I don't know how it came on my radar. It kind of just popped up as an ad on Instagram of all places. Geez, September 2017. That's funny because that's actually exactly when the Movie Flame channel took off. I had rebooted it in that July to make it go from and awesome to Movie Flame. And I consider that the true start of the channel. But anyway, let's look at this. Viktor Krum might not have been able to pronounce Hermione's name, but at least he wasn't afraid of his true feelings, Ron. That's true that he couldn't pronounce Hermione's name and he called her Hermione and a few other things. And fun fact, J.K. Rowling actually put that into the 4th book to ensure that people knew how to pronounce Hermione, because at that point the movies hadn't come out yet and a lot of people were confused on how to say her name. So this was her being like, hey, this is actually how you pronounce it, as Hermione told Viktor Krum how to say it. Just a fun fact for you. Back to the article. Before Fred and George Weasley made the wise decision to give Ron a copy of 12 fail-safe ways to charm witches, well, let's just say that our favorite red-headed chess champ wasn't the best at wooing the ladies. Yeah, the twins gave him that little book in the Half-Blood Prince, and I think it did help. Because Ron was actually watching Bill as he was with Fleur to take notes, which I think is hilarious. So yeah, that's valid. Ron wasn't the best with the ladies at that point. Getting back to the article, let's just say that our favorite redheaded chess champ wasn't the best at wooing the ladies, or to be more specific, the one lady he was actually after, Hermione Granger. And before Ron realized that the best thing that could ever happen to him was right in front of him, tirelessly helping him with homework, he could be downright mean to poor old Hermione. I mean, yeah, when you have a crush on someone when you're a kid, you do act out like that, like you pick on them because you don't really know how to flirt, you don't really know what to do. I would argue that in books 1 to 3 though, I don't think that Ron had feelings like that for Hermione. I don't think it was until the Yule Ball and all of the stuff with Viktor Krum that he did realize that yes, he did have feelings for Hermione. Then there was Viktor Krum. Hermione was given a reprise from being constantly teased by the clueless Gryffindor and given a taste of romance from someone who actually deserved her, and we loved every moment of it. Did we? I don't think I did. One thing crazy is that Krum was 18 years old during this time when they started dating, and Hermione was a minor at 15 years old. So he was legally an adult and she was legally a child. Like, that 3-year age gap at that age is pretty crazy. Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure if you're 18, you can only date someone who's 16. There are laws in all different countries and even in all different states though, so that might just be some places, but overall I feel like that is a fair assumption that if you're 15, you should have no business dating an 18-year-old. And to put it better, an 18-year-old should not be dating a 15-year-old. So yeah, I don't think that we enjoyed every moment of it like they said. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, it's a big claim, but we're sticking by it. Here is exactly why Viktor Krum and Hermione Jean Granger were meant to be together. Thrown in the middle name for some reason. I actually just did a trivia challenge at a bar, and some of the questions were about Harry Potter, and one of the questions was, name all 3 of the trio's full names, like first name, middle name, and last name. And obviously, I got it. Ronald Bilius Weasley, Harry James Potter, and Hermione Jean Granger. And we ended up winning that, and we got some free nachos, which was pretty cool. Alright, so their first point, he was a man of few words, but they were all the right ones. Viktor Krum was about as chatty as a Dementor, but he still managed to make Hermione feel special, unlike half of the highly insensitive and sometimes just plain rude things that Ron came out with. Now I'll take a quick pause here that if you've seen the movies, yeah, Ron can be pretty mean to her and pretty distant from her, but in the books it was not as bad as it was in the films. The films did Ron pretty dirty. There was actually a video I made that I might play a clip from that just shows how much the movies and Steve Kloves, the screenwriter from the movies, actually just destroyed Ron and Hermione's relationship.
You take pride in being an insufferable know-it-all.
And in the book, Ron stood up for her, talking back to Snape and earning himself a detention. In the movie though, they not only cut Ron standing up for Hermione, but they had Ron agree with Snape.
He's got a point, you know.
The movies constantly make Ron seem like such a jerk, when really he's not at all.
I probably threw that clip in there in post-production, so hope you enjoyed it. Now back to the article. In fact, Hermione pointed out exactly how Viktor had asked her out to the Yule Ball after it was mentioned that he was constantly in the library and it was frankly perfect. If you really want to know, he said he'd been coming to the library every day to try and talk to me, but he hadn't been able to pluck up the courage. Not gonna lie, that's pretty creepy that this 18-year-old was low-key stalking a 15-year-old in the library. So yeah, that's another red flag that, I don't know, dude, I just think that's weird. Moving on to their next point, he did some impressive magic to save her. We don't think we're being too melodramatic when we say that Viktor Krum risked his hawkish good looks, perhaps forever, to save Hermione's life, turning himself part shark. What? I don't think they know how transfiguration works. If you think about it, he basically tried to become an animagus with just a few short months of practice. Dude, now they're just not even knowing the lore about Harry Potter. To become an animagus, it is a completely different process than just transfiguring yourself. In fact, it is so different that I don't even think they can be compared. Like, hold up, dude. So this is literally how you become an animagi. It is a long process. First, you have to carry a single mandrake leaf in your mouth for an entire month. Then you have to do something with dew and human feet. And then you have to do something every sunrise and every sundown. Then as soon as lightning appears in the sky, you go to that place and you hide your crystal file that you had to get. And so on and so forth. It's an 8-step process that takes months to do. So Krum transfiguring himself into a shark is so different than being an animagi. Anyway, back to the article. Talking about animagi again, they said it took the Marauders a few years before they could all turn themselves into animals. Again, the Marauders becoming animagi is so different than Viktor Krum. Viktor Krum just took his wand and did a small spell to transfigure himself for just a little bit of time and messed it up. He meant to transfigure his entire body but failed. Oh yeah, and then they say that. Sure, he didn't quite manage it properly, but we're still seriously impressed with the effort it must have taken to give himself that shark head for the second task. Can you imagine Ron trying that feat? Ron, who caused a dinner plate to mutate into a large mushroom for his OWL's transfiguration exam. Shudder. Now you're just comparing how powerful they are with magic. That has nothing to do with Hermione. Also, yes, I do think that Ron would do anything to save Hermione, at least in the later books. Had he had to do it, he definitely would have done something similar to what Viktor Krum did. I mean, when he was locked in the cellar when Hermione was being tortured by Bellatrix, he was absolutely screaming and trying to figure out what to do to try and save her. Also, the fact that they're saying that Krum saved her with magic, she was never in danger. The hostages were never going to get hurt, they were always going to be safe. So either way, she was safe. Like, if Krum didn't do anything, she would have been alright. To their next point, Viktor Krum wasn't the jealous type. They did not read the books, but let's read it. At Bill and Flair's wedding, Viktor and Hermione met each other again for the first time since the year of the Triwizard Tournament. Although Viktor was clearly very much into Hermione, telling her, without the help of a self-help book, that she looked wonderful, with the accent. He immediately backed off when Harry told him that she and Ron were sort of together. So you're saying he's not the jealous type, but at that wedding that you're talking about, he got pretty frustrated. And I think he had a quote where he said, "What's the point of being famous if you can't get all of the pretty girls?" Also, saying he's not the jealous type, in the Goblet of Fire, he literally pulled Harry aside to ask him what was going on with him and Hermione, clearly being insanely jealous. Pulling someone aside to ask them what's going on with your girlfriend has jealousy written all over it. So their point, Viktor wasn't the jealous type? Yes, he was. Also, they just keep taking shots at Ron for no reason, saying, without the help of a self-help book. What does it matter if he read a book? He's literally reading a book to make himself better for girls, including Hermione. I would argue that that's actually a good thing. He was going out of his way and doing research to try and make himself a better man and a better boyfriend. But anyway, moving on. Meanwhile, one of Ron's biggest flaws was his streak of jealousy, and he was simply rude to a perfectly respectful Viktor at the wedding. Frankly, we can't imagine that Hermione and Viktor's pen friendship was kept up after she and green-eyed Ronster started going out. Wait, did they just say that Ron has green eyes? Green-eyed Ronster? Ron is a ginger with blue eyes. And it's not like this was written with AI, dude. This came out in 2017. You see articles today that are just terribly written with mistakes because it's AI, but this was written by a real person. I will admit that they're right that Ron does have a jealous streak and doesn't always handle it well, and they're saying that this happened at the wedding, but what he said wasn't that bad. I think Viktor Krum said something about Xenophilius Lovegood, and Ron said, "That's the father of a friend of ours," which is valid. Like, you don't want someone to be insulting one of your best friend's fathers. And then right after that, he was like, "Come on, Hermione, let's go dance." So I don't even think that that was that rude. Honestly, had they based this part of Ron's jealousy on what happened at the Yule Ball, that would have been a better argument, because there he was jealous and handled it in an absolutely terrible way. So I don't know why they wouldn't use that as evidence that Viktor Krum was supposed to be with Hermione, and they used something that Ron said that wasn't that disrespectful or mean to Viktor Krum. Also, going over the part where they can't imagine that Hermione and Viktor's pen friendship, meaning that they wrote letters back and forth, was kept up after she ended up with Ron. And what? I would hope not. That's her ex-boyfriend. If your boyfriend or girlfriend asks you not to talk to an ex, I think that's pretty valid. Anyway, their next point, Viktor helped Hermione to chill. Hermione had many wonderful qualities, but switching off had never really been one of them. Whether it was homework, securing freedom for house elves, or Horcrux hunting, there was always something on Hermione's mind. But when she was with Viktor, she actually let herself just enjoy the moment, something we're not sure we can say she ever really did before. That's just not true. When she was hunting for Horcruxes, there were many moments where Ron calmed Hermione down and made her settle down. Also, she wasn't even talking to Viktor Krum at the time that she was hunting Horcruxes. How could he calm her down for that period in her life? I will admit that she did enjoy herself very much at the Yule Ball and forgot about homework and all of the other stuff she worried about. But to say that that was the only time that she ever did that is ludicrous. That's not true at all. In turn, she helped Krum open up and be a little less grumpy. Her words, not ours. Then they have a quote from the book. For once, Hermione didn't seem to be thinking about SPEW. She was deep in talk with Viktor Krum and hardly seemed to notice what she was eating. It now occurred to Harry that he had never actually heard Krum speak before, but he was certainly talking now, and very enthusiastically at that. Which is what I was just talking about. They did have fun at the Yule Ball. But again, that's not the only time that Hermione was like that. Yeah, then we have a little picture of them dancing at the Yule Ball, and then their next point, he remembered she was a girl. Need we say more? Being a teenage girl is not an easy task, and it must have been horrible for a 15-year-old Hermione listening to Ron obsess over who he was going to ask to the Yule Ball without even considering for a moment that she might be interested. And yes, there was that moment where Ron was like, "Hey Hermione, you're a girl," and she was like, "Oh, well spotted."
Wait, Hermione, you're a girl.
Oh, well spotted.
But as I said, leading up to the Yule Ball and in books 1, 2, and 3, he saw Hermione as just a friend. Getting back to the article, meanwhile, lovely Viktor asked her to the ball even though he could have picked any of his adoring groupies, and they had a great evening together. And then when Ron finally noticed her, he ruined it all with his jealousy and hurt her feelings so much that she went to bed in tears. Nice one, Ron. And they have a quote, Ron, however, walked right past Hermione without looking at her. So they did end up bringing up the point that I had about Ron ruining the night at the Yule Ball, which is a valid point. I guess I'll give them that. Oh, and here we are, we're at the end. In all seriousness, we're so glad that Ron and Hermione got together in the end, and of course, they make a great pair. But we're also glad that Viktor Krum helped Ron to start paying attention to Hermione, and to step up his game by noticing what we'd all known for years. Hermione was someone special. I think giving Krum credit for Ron paying attention to Hermione is sort of a reach. Like, Krum didn't say anything or do anything. It was just the situation that he just so happened to be a part of. So yeah, man, it's pretty crazy that the official Harry Potter site made this article about Krum being a better boyfriend than Ron Weasley. And I don't want to harp on it, but again, Krum was 18 and Hermione was 15. I feel like that is a big red flag. They tried to throw a lot of red flags in there for Ron, but none of them come even close to Krum being an adult and Hermione being a minor. Obviously though, there are different laws in different places around the world, but either way, I feel like that's weird. I think that Ron and Hermione were a great pairing. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm excited to hear your thoughts. If you like this video, I have a lot of others just like it, like this one where I argue that the Harry and Hermione dance scene is terrible, or this one where I go over the origin of Remus Lupin becoming a werewolf. That's all I have for you guys today in this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.